Since his student days, Dr. Willoughby has been influenced by Gandhiji's writings and particularly his philosophy of non-violence. Even though he was a member of the United States Army, he resigned from it when the World War II broke out because he strongly believed there was no moral basis for war. Since then, he has been a conscientious objector and total believer in pacifism and non-violence, and to use of war as a method of solving the problems of nations. To express his deep commitment to non-violence, pacifism, and opposition to war, Dr. Willoughby organized a large number of public meetings to protest against nuclear weapons, a journey in a small, unarmed vessel into the US nuclear bomb test area to protest against the American nuclear bomb tests, a long peace march from San Francisco to Moscow in 1961-62, and involving himself in discussing strategies for conflict resolution through non-violence with Jayaprakash Narayan and Vinoba Bhave in 1960.
Gandhi taught me a lot. I don't think anything Gandhi did was new. The world knew a lot of this. But the one unique thing I learned from him, that if I would change the world, I have to begin doing something now. Not wait for everybody, but take the lead. Go ahead, do it. Fail, pick up, brush my knees off, and go on. Try again and again. It is not victory we're seeking, but to do something to change the world. That's what Gandhi taught me. Learning and teaching go hand in hand. This is why we created in our work in the States educational institutions to train and prepare people to live the life of nonviolent soldiers, of nonviolent workers for peace. And to do that, we could not stand as teachers and say, this is the way you do it. But we as teachers had to be learners with our students, and we were. It isn't the things I did in this nonviolent action that I remember the most and think most important, but the things I remember the most important are the lives that I influenced. And you know, I never knew that. As I've grown older, some of these students have come to me and told me how my life had affected them. And that is the real reward. Not great honors, money, but that's the real reward. Now in closing, and I acknowledge I have not followed my script, but I have to speak out of the heart, and the heart changes from time to time. But in closing, I want to say, these are two things I've learned. One, conflict is a necessary part of life. Friends, you can't avoid it. The important thing is how we handle that conflict. We must acknowledge it and deal with it. Traditionally, we often use violence. You know in your own life it doesn't pay. You know in nations that use violence, they end up with more violence. Today the world is in that same place. The way of nonviolence is one of the best ways we know to deal with the issue of conflict in our personal lives, in our family, in the world. We are called to do that. Secondly, I think we have to recognize and accept the fact that we cannot do this alone, but together and sharing in the wealth of the world, that is essential. The third thing is we must learn to live in harmony with this world, with the universe. God did not put us here to rule this universe, but to live in harmony with it. And that is the way of nonviolence. This is what Gandhi was saying. This is what Jesus said. When are we going to follow it? The last thing I would say, remind you, one of Gandhi's great ideas was the Santi Sena, the peace army. We've experimented with that in India, I know, and we've experimented with it in other parts of the world. In a few days, I go to Delhi to join with a group, international group, very prominent, well-known people who have done these things to help, we hope, to give birth to a new nonviolent peace force. A force, 100, 200, 300 people committed to the nonviolent way as soldiers of peace, prepared, trained, and ready, and financed to go into a troubled situation as an alternative to violence. This is what Gandhi has said to me. This idea needs your support. It may not work out, but it is an initial step forward. I ask you to give your consideration to it and join in support of this new creation of the Gandhian idea of Santi Sena. Namaste.